Good evening, Hobby World. Thanks for joining us live tonight for episode 37 of Personal Rips and Hobby Chat. Joining me is Ken from McBean's Big Card blog. I triple it every time. I'm Herman, aka 3B Collection, and we have Beau from at 1 Million Cubs with us tonight. We're here every Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern to talk about our hobby and yours. Feel free to join in the conversation in chat. And tonight we are talking car shows. More specifically, Dallas, Madison, and then the little one I went to in Spartanburg, which was interesting, to say the least. So how y'all doing tonight?
Doing well. Thanks for inviting me.
Well, to have you. Me and Ken was talking this weekend or after Sunday and today too that everybody went to a car show this weekend. It seemed like either whether it be Dallas or your show or the one I went to, or I think there was one in Las Vegas somewhere. That seemed like it was shows everywhere. So I figured it'd be a good topic to just kind of fill in an hour and share what we got and what happened and what went on. And
yeah, lots of fun. You said your show's little, but there's no such thing as a little show. Only.
And I think I've heard you mention that you would prefer a smaller show, so you probably would have enjoyed the one. You probably would have enjoyed the one I went to.
There's a lot of advantages to that. There's a lot of advantages to the card shows. I was watching a video today that Cardi C had done about the new show that Bowman 1951 started in. What is it? Woburn, Mass, and he did a quick little interview with Bowman 1951, and he said something about, we're not the Dallas Card Show, but and I got to talk to Jeff and be like, dude, don't do that. Go the other direction. Go, this is what we can do for you that you can't do at the Dallas Card Show. You can sit down and go through boxes. There was nobody set up the Dallas Card Show that has a setup like Beau has at his show. Not one person.
Really?
The boxes were very minimal, the boxes to go through, because as the show is, we've had enough shows now that you see it. If you've got one guy at one table and a guy at the opposite table, and they've both got backpacks, there are aisles where you can't even get through.
Yeah, and I've heard that.
I'm a big boy. I'm like turning sideways, taking my backpack off, and like, excuse me, guys, sorry. And then you've got all of the YouTube channels with their film crews and their posses and everything blocking off complete aisles. You don't get that at the Madison Card Show, at least not yet. Maybe someday. You don't get those at the smaller card shows. So there's so many advantages to those smaller card shows. We can touch on that more later if we come back around to it.
Yeah, I mean, they had like tables out in the hallways and everything, didn't they?
Yeah, I mean, there's the main room. I actually set up at the very first show. That would have been August of 19. Obviously that was pre-boom and thing. And I set up there. It was just the main room. And it seemed like there was a lot more room, in the aisles because there were less tables. And the tables have just, the numbers have just gotten bigger and bigger every time, to where now it's actually that and 3 rooms that are kind of right next to the main room. And then, yes, there were probably 10-ish people out in the hallway.
Yeah. Mar says he'll be at the next Bowman 51 show.
Oh, awesome.
So.
Oh, hey, I didn't even have the chat on. Hey, everybody. Sorry.
Yeah, we got.
I didn't even have that up.
We got Dan with us. How y'all doing? Dan and Mark and Matt. Looks like. Matt says he has the closest one to him is about 15 to 20 tables, but it's always the same vendors and same inventory. So he goes about once a year. I guess that's a fair criticism, so to speak, especially if it's guys that aren't buying new stuff and putting new stuff out. And a lot of those people sometimes are ripping retail, so it may get better or it may get worse before it gets better. Yeah, and I noticed that this would be in the second time that I've been to this show. The first time I went was in December. So, I mean, you're looking at, about a 6-month stretch since the last time I went. And, it was the same. I noticed it was pretty much the same people, which I'm sure a lot of them are. I'm sure yours was like that, Beau. You had pretty much the same ones, plus you added a few tables, so you had some more on top of what you had. So, but I feel like that, I pretty much wiped them out of what I was looking for, so I might not go back to the next few.
But at the same time, even Dallas Card Show, it's really the same people setting up over and over. Now, there's a few more new ones every time as it's gotten a little more tables every time. It was supposed to be a little over 500 this time, and I heard that it was going to be over 700 in July. But I mean, there is a certain point where there's not going to be a way to put in more, and it's going to be the same people over and over. And then, of course, 85% of those tables look exactly the same anyway.
Slabs and retail. And that's another thing about the smaller shows sometimes, a collector, a guy that just is trying to sell off some excess, he's not going to pay $250 for a table at the Dallas Card Show. He's not going to have, enough inventory to cover that. But that collector can afford the $50 at Beau Show, or it's a lot more reasonable. Less people, but it's much more reasonable. So, again, there's another thing, that I feel is an advantage of the, 50 table shows, 25 table shows, and so on. At $250 a table, that might be why you didn't see many quarter boxes.
Yeah,
it's hard to make up a $250 table fee for a few quarter boxes.
It is.
Even if you took as many as Beau had.
It is, but in fairness, and one way I did kind of break this down, I was actually talking with my wife. We're just kind of chatting top level. She amuses me sometimes and will at least listen to me talk. Bear in mind, though, that is $250. How much is that per hour? Beau's open, 6 hours, 8 hours?
Yeah.
So there is a level of, you're open Friday, Saturday, Sunday to everyone, and then there is trade night on Thursday. Again, still a much higher, cost per hour. But, there is that. But like you said, how many quarter cards would you have to sell to break even? I mean, is my math right? Is that 10,000 you'd have to sell to break even on one table? Or is it 1,000? No, 10,000. Oh, it'd be 1,000. Okay.
For
but even still, 1,000 cards.
That's a lot of cards.
But then you're not going to sell all of them for a quarter piece. You're going to have people that get 5 and or 10. And you're saying you cut into it, but.
And then you do bulk discounts. If somebody grabs, 100 or 200, you're not selling them at 25 cents. You're, giving them a discount and 15, 20 cents.
Well, and so let's just go ahead and keep going with why small shows are better. Yeah. The other reason that you're not going to see those at the Dallas Card Show is what I just kind of said earlier. There's no room. You can't sit down and go through anything. You literally would have to. Who wants to stand and go through 5 monster boxes? And even if you do, you're getting bumped every 45 seconds by somebody, and not they're being rude. It's just, it is what it is. It's reality. So that's another reason a lot of the tables look the same. There's not a lot of boxes to go through at that show, and you're seeing less and less every show because they realize people aren't standing around in general doing that. They're just looking at the cases.
Yep. And on the topic of quarter boxes, let me go ahead and share this with you. And this is what I told you. You'll probably find amusing, but I got there Saturday. I got there before they opened the doors. And had I known what was going to happened, I would have been videoing. And because this was the most hilarious thing I ever seen. There was people lined up outside the door. And, of course, I'm sitting there thinking, I feel like I'm at Target. But they opened the doors up. And like I said, I went in December, so I kind of had an idea of, if it was the same, I kind of had an idea what the layout was. But when they opened the doors, the mass majority of everybody in front of me took off running, like full sprint inside. I'm like, where are they going? What are they after? Because, there was nothing special that, no autographs or nothing like that was going on here. So I get to watching, and there was probably about 30 people in front of me in line waiting to get in to the car show. Out of 30, 20 of them made a beeline straight to the quarter boxes.
Nice.
They running past slabs, running past retail, went straight. There's one guy, and I'm assuming he's always there because he's there the last 2 times. He has like 6 tables. And of his 6 tables he has, the way he has it set up is kind of horseshoed. He's on the end of 2 aisles. And he has one table that has a few. He has a few retail boxes, a few of just miscellaneous stuff. And he has one table that he has a couple of like showcases that he has singles in. But his other 4 tables is end to end, side to side, nothing but dime and quarter boxes. And I think he has like $2 boxes. But that's where these people were headed. They wanted to go straight to his quarter boxes and just start digging in.
Hey, maybe that'll be how Beau will get someday. I mean, if he's putting $5, you're putting $5 cards in there. Hell yeah, people are going to do that. Beau's got something to look forward to. Or you're sure the guy didn't have any like TVs for sale, real cheap behind it? Because it sounded like Black Friday.
It was like the way his box. He has some of his boxes has like cards that's not sleeved, which he does them like dime boxes, kind of like set fillers. People are building sets that he has. So if it's not sleeved, it's a dime. If it's sleeved, it's a quarter. Then he has like a 50-cent box and a $1 box, and his $1 box is all in top loaders.
I like that.
So, and I think you had talked about that earlier, that anything $1 and up should be in a top loader, and that's exactly how his is. But I'm talking about they hit him quick. And he's out there, and he's giving out like 350 count boxes, 400 count boxes, and he's like, he had his price, and at the bottom of his sign, it says, or fill a box and let's make a deal. So he's handing out 350 or 330 count boxes to everybody, and they're sitting there going through and putting cards in. And man, it was hand over fist for him all day. He had people stacked 2 or 3 deep waiting to get to his boxes.
And when I set up at that first Dallas card show, that's actually exactly what I did. I had dime boxes, and then I had others. One table was nothing but dime cards, and then at one table was, I had a case, and then I had some other stuff. But that's exactly what I did. It was like 100 count box was $10. A 200 count box, I was like, okay, 19. And then so it'd be it took $1 off every time, because my theory was A, it incentivizes them to buy more, and then B, you don't have to count them. You just say fill the box. You're roughly charging a dime. You're roughly charging a quarter. Or in Beau's case, so mine weren't sleeved because they were dime cards. In Beau's case, he knows that he can get 90 into a 100 count box because they have sleeves on them, and then price them that way. So yeah, that was kind of what I did. Again, it didn't work, and it didn't work there. It did work some at the smaller shows. So back to my smaller show theory.
So Beau, how does your show go overall? I mean, as far as for everybody, was your turnout better than the last time as far as people coming in the door? Or
It was. So, and I do apologize. I've had to go off camera a couple times. My allergies are just absolutely killing me tonight. So, and I sound a little congested as well. But the show this weekend was, we did do better overall with attendance. We had, I think, 7 more tables than we did in the April show. It wasn't. I thought we would have a lot more attendees than what we did, because our increase was pretty minimal, but we did see an increase. And the great thing was I didn't hear like any, there were no like negative comments or no, nothing critical about, this could have been better or you should do this next show. It was all positive. Most of the vendors that I talked to, they were, really happy with the results and the crowd and, how they did. So we'll have, a lot of repeat guys coming back for the next show. So, in that sense, it was successful. I would have liked to see higher attendance, but, I think we're getting into that time of year for a smaller show like ours that, especially here in the upper Midwest where we don't get too many nice days. And it was a beautiful day Saturday. It was like 85 degrees here. So, in Wisconsin, that doesn't happen too, you don't get too many days like that. So I think that took some of the crowd away. And I told Johnny, my co-promoter, that, I think this is probably kind of the benchmark that we're going to see the next couple months, just because summer in Madison is, people, as hot as the hobby is right now, a lot of people don't want to spend time inside a hotel room,
I was going to say they want to get out, especially when it's warmer, it's getting pretty, and they've been cooped up for a year, and
absolutely,
it's time to go. Stretch your legs. Yep. So, you on your quarter boxes, I'm assuming you did fairly well. I know you said you brought back more than you sold, but
I actually bought another vendor's quarter and dollar box. So yeah, I brought back more cards than I brought. And I was talking about this on my YouTube channel Sunday about, I took, I just wanted to fill, and I filled 3 tables full of quarter boxes. I had 15 boxes, and, Ken actually mentioned maybe it was overkill. Maybe people were overwhelmed, and I agree with that. So I think next month I'm going to narrow it down. I think maybe I'll skim back on some baseball, and, football seems to be really picking up some steam. So I think I may add, take away a couple baseball boxes and then add a football box and narrow it down from like 15 boxes and do 9 or 10 just to kind of simplify it, make it not so overwhelming for people.
Now you're constantly adding to your quarter boxes from your inventory or whatever, but do you feel like just like for what you take to the show and you bring it back home, do you feel like the box has pretty much been cherry picked where you got to add stuff back to it, or is there enough?
I don't know. Most of them are still in the back of my car, so I've got to kind of look to see, what's left in there. And, there's a lot in my quarter boxes as I was like pulling boxes out, and especially football and basketball, I was throwing some cards in there that, $5, $6, $7, $8 in the 25-cent box. And, I think that's kind of something that you should do just to keep people interested, because like my attitude toward a quarter box, I can usually go through somebody's booth and I can dig through. If I grab 2 piles, I have a sense of what is going to be in the rest of their inventory in the boxes. And if I come across a card that I know I can sell or I have sold for a few bucks on eBay, I know that there might be some diamonds in there, some diamonds in the rough, some $5 cards or whatever. But if it's a bunch of just, base Bowman veteran commons and it's kind of like I go a couple piles, there's probably not going to be much in here. So I like to throw some of those $5 cards in there just to, give somebody, some excitement, like, hey, I found this $5 card in a 25-cent box. So keep them digging, get them to buy more.
Yeah, kind of like you do when you go to your LCS and dig through his quarter box.
Absolutely.
And come back and brag about having a $25 card.
I do cherry pick, like, if there's not going to be a $20 card unless it's been in there for a while and somebody just absolutely blows up and I miss it. But there's going to be some other ones in there.
Yeah, and there's a lot of ways to think about this. I mean, you talk about, is it cherry picked? Well, at a quarter, you may have team collectors, you got player collectors. Well, you're only in the second show, and you're only in the second show you set up. This show is, ideally going to get bigger, so you're going to have new people every time. Herman, you don't go to that same show every month. You go every 3 or 4 months. We've had other people talk about, I've seen other people talk about, I only go once a year. So there is that. And then one of the other things I was thinking about, Beau, you had read the comment, and then I kind of said something at the end. Even if you bring the alternative stuff, so say you've got the NASCAR, you've got the hockey, and I know you said you didn't have much hockey, the non-sport, if that's the stuff that only 5% of the people are looking at, still bring it, you throw it under the table, and then it doesn't look necessarily as intimidating.
Sure.
And a lot of people may be getting intimidated by stuff they're not even going to look at anyway. So there's all that. And then, I was kind of curious what your theory was going to be. What you've been lucky enough to do is, so far, you've done the bulk of the work. Now it's just kind of refilling those boxes, and you're not going to have to nearly do the work ideally ever again that you've done. I mean, I guess unless you sell everything one show to somebody, but it's just that constant refilling, and it's that digging for the new stuff.
Yeah, and that was the overwhelming part, was just getting to the point I'm at now with 15 boxes. Everything's penny sleeved, and it took me that whole month from the last show to this show, all the way up until Friday to get everything sleeved up and then organized into sport boxes. And yeah, so now that pressure's off. That weight's off my shoulders where, you know, I can just bring back the same boxes and not really do much. And, you know, I'll pick up some Bowman, you know, blasters and, you know, whatever I pick up between now and June 26th. And, you know, I can throw, you know, add some new stuff in there that I pick up along the way. But for the most part, yeah, like you said, it's just kind of, you know, inventory that I don't have to maintain at all in the next.
You're only putting in 10 hours or so, say roughly a month into it. Because, you know, Rich Klein, when he sets up at his shows, that's a lot of what he has is he has monster boxes, but it's all prices. So his teardown is put the boxes in the car, go home, get them into the house, and then he's ready to go for the next show other than whatever he bought and put in one box. So,
yep.
You know, that's one of those benefits you've got is not very labor intensive as far as, or no more labor intensive going forward more than you want it to be.
Right.
Love it, man. Love it.
And I kind of seeing what I saw at Spartanburg, I kind of just watched some of these guys that was going through these boxes. I learned something about excuse me. I learned something about the quarter box people. They go into these quarter boxes knowing what they're looking for. Because I mean, these guys, you hear people talk about Beckett knowing it's, you know, just going through quarter boxes like crazy. These people are going through here, and I'm like, it's like they was shuffling through stacks of 200 in just a couple of seconds and just picking out stuff, put this stack back, get the next one. I mean, I saw one guy, I've watched him for a little bit, but I watched him go from one box, and as soon as somebody cleared this box, he could slide over, and it's like,
that's my strategy when I'm buying.
But I guess everybody wanted to be the first one to the box and go through it. And by the end of the day, I did notice that it was almost like the set collectors came back after the fact, because then you have the guys come up that had the list and they was looking for specific sets, and they were picking more through, I guess, the dime stuff that was left. But it was pretty cool. It was the fact that like 20 of the 30 people in line rushed straight to his table.
And, you know, that's you mentioned the set collectors, and that's the tough part about how do you organize your quarter boxes, because the show that the last show before we started these, I set up last February right before COVID, and I had everything. It was mostly baseball, and it was all sorted by team. I used Big Shep's labels that he had and printed those off. So everything was sorted in team and really super organized. But you'll have people ask, you know, I'm a player collector. And usually that's pretty easy. Like, you know, if you're a Freddie Freeman collector, you only have to go to the Atlanta Braves section. But if you're a Ricky Henderson collector, you know, shoot, he was on like 10 different teams. So it's a little more difficult in that sense. And then you have the set collectors where it's like, well, I'm looking for 2012 Topps Heritage or 2000, you know, and this and this. So
card 446. Oh,
yeah, right. So it's like
in here somewhere.
Even if it may be a row, it's like, yeah, it's not organized. So it's really tough because that, you know, everybody's different. And then you have the guys like me, I'm just going in to find bargains that I can flip on eBay or Cubs. So yeah, it's everybody's unique in what they're looking for in these bargain boxes.
Yeah. And one thing about you cannot put a box of cards on a table at a show in numerical order and expect it to stay that way.
Exactly.
Well, and kind of going along with what you said, one of the things, you know, I found fascinating, and one thing that makes it hard, you know, about card shows to set up as a collector who doesn't sell every month, like Beau, you have your thing. You're the quarter box guy. But like when I set up so infrequently, and I've learned now that I can't do this, but you kind of have to figure out where your niche is, what you want to do. You can't have dime box. It's hard to have dime boxes, quarter boxes, dollar boxes, cases with higher price stuff. You only have so much room, and you know, at least by you know, kind of you pigeonhole yourself into the quarter cards, but those people come to you and they come to you first.
Right.
And they sit there and they spend hours, is where if you've got this and that, they're going to, okay, if I get around to them, I'll get around to them. But that's one of the things that, now that you've got your thing and you're going to set up monthly, I think is going to be a huge benefit to you. Yes, you're going to have to turn more cards to make the same amount of money that someone else does, but you're not trying to do all these different things because you've decided that anything, whatever price, $10 and up is going on eBay.
And you make a great point, because if I had, if I would bring some of the Bowman autos that I, pull, or, stuff that I have on eBay, if somebody sees 10 quarter boxes, if a buyer for a higher end card sees 10 quarter boxes and, maybe a case, they're going to skip that table, because what I've learned in the first 2 months of running the show is quarter boxes are kind of like bargain boxes have this kind of bad, it's kind of looked down upon by some of the higher end dealers, and some of the vendors I talk to will be like, well, are your vendors just a bunch of bargain boxes, a bunch of quarter boxes? And it's like, there is some of that, but we also have vendors, and it's true. We have vendors with some really nice high end stuff. We have my table where it's just nothing but 25-cent cards. We have other guys that have it. So it's a nice little mix.
Is there anybody else there at y'all show that is pretty much just quarter box oriented, or?
There's so Johnny, who's my co-promoter, he has kind of a little mix of everything. He has a dollar box, he has a quarter box, and then he has some higher end stuff, some slabs. So he kind of runs the gamut. We've got a couple other guys that are Steven, who set up, he had a whole bunch of bargain boxes at our first show and ended up selling them out. Had one guy buy them all. And so this time he didn't bring as much, and he was actually buying some of those bargain boxes. So we have a few. I would, taking up 3 tables, I had the most at this past show. But yeah, there are some other bargain boxes throughout the show.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's a great mix, and like I said, you have that, so those guys come to you. They have their place. It just astounds me that you sit here, that you say that some of these other guys are like looking down on that, and that it's just like, those are the people I want to punch in the face. After this past weekend, I am in as good of a place. I'm as happy in the hobby as I've been in a while, because it was such a good experience. But now I'm wanting to punch people in the face again. Dang it! Because that's the crap. That's just garbage.
Yeah, I forgot who was it. Was it Ivan that posted the picture of you?
He posted. Yeah, he posted a picture
and
of
Ken
us,
just looked like he was in hog heaven. Like, he was just all grins. I'm like, Ken's in a public place with that many people, and he's got a smile on his face.
I had a great time.
So, yeah. And one thing I noticed about Spartanburg from the last time I went, you hear everybody talk about how 90% of the vendors is all retail or slabs, which now I will say there was a lot of retail there. But the one thing I didn't notice, another thing I noticed, was that I only saw 2 tables out of 60 that was like nothing but slabs, which was a lot less than the last time I went. The last time I went, I want to say about half of them was nothing but just all slab cards. Now, you had all your other tables, they'd have 5 or 6 mixed in with everything else, but it seemed like, and I don't know if that has anything to do with PSA year and back or what, but they wasn't nowhere near as many as it was the last time.
I think they were all in Dallas. All those slabs.
Or Virginia, who knows? But no, you're right about the slabs. Like I said, 85% of these tables looked exactly the same.
Yeah. I had one, and I won't call it a bad experience. It was more of a frustrating one, but one of the cards that I need for my 7-2 set is the Steve Garvey, which is one of the bigger cards I have left. And I'm sitting here and I'm looking through the guy's cases. He has one sitting up front. I asked to see it. He pulls it out, and I'm sitting there looking at it. And I had on, I don't know if you remember or not, the Freeman Acuna 24 shirt that I have. I know I wore it on here a couple times. Anyway, it looks like an election shirt. But
I got you.
Yeah.
I got you.
You know, but I had it on, and I'm sitting here looking, and I asked the guy what he wanted for it, which of course it wasn't priced. He told me the price, and I was just about to offer it. I thought, I don't know, $10 less or so. I could what it was. But he looks at me and he's like, like your shirt? Is that the next election shirt or something? And then he starts talking politics. And I'm not saying one way or the other, but he was completely on the opposite rail from what I was. And so it's like, here you go. I don't need it. Move on. Because he didn't know where I stood politically. So why would you just throw your political beliefs and opinions on me when you're sitting here trying to make a sale?
Yeah, that's bad.
I couldn't believe that.
Bad business.
For once, I have nothing to say.
You agree, though.
Oh, I agree with what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, that's dumber. That guy's dumber than a bag of hammers.
And that's probably the only 72 high numbers that I needed that I didn't walk out there with.
Well, you'll feel better, and I guess when you do finally get that Garvey, sorry, my Lola's getting up in my business. But when you do finally get that Garvey, you're always going to remember that. That's a story. You will remember that every time you look at that car.
I remember it now because even at the price he had on it was cheaper than I found it on eBay anywhere. So,
oh wow.
Regerts?
No, because I'll find another one, and I'll pay the full price that he had on it to not have somebody talk politics to me about it. And it really wouldn't. I mean, it wasn't in the best shape. It was kind of a little less than what I would have wanted, but if I could have got it for what I was going to offer him for it, I'd have been perfectly happy with it. But yeah, I did. I guess if y'all want, we can go into the show and tell part. I guess you said.
Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna. The allergies are getting me too, so I'm gonna jump off camera for just a minute, and I'll be back.
I don't know what y'all got going on.
I just mowed the lawn tonight, and oh man.
Yeah, I've got to do that tomorrow, so I'll probably be like that tomorrow night.
Yeah.
But I picked up. I think it was 13. Let's see, 3, 4, 5, 6. 8. Yeah, I actually ended up with 13 of what I needed for my set. So I got the Reds team card, which was one. John Kennedy. It was little. It's got a crease in it, but at this point, I'm just if I have to go back and upgrade some of them, I'll do that later. Doug Griffin.
And these are all high numbers?
These are all high number, yep. Bobby Bond. Gene Michael. This is bad off center, but Bob Berta. That's definitely going to be a filler card. I'll have to get that one swapped out somewhere down the road, but the guy threw it in with at no charge, so I wasn't going to turn it down.
Oh, absolutely.
Walt Louston. Gio Grado. Got the 72 rookie star AL and NL. That was another biggie that I was needing. Bernie Williams. Steve Hamilton.
Oh, there you go. Steve Hamilton.
Yeah, and I got that for a steal compared to what. Either way. Anyway. Tom McGraw. Ken Tatum. And I can never pronounce this. Aspermato. Ken Aspermato.
Oh, Aspermante.
Aspermate. Okay.
Yeah, he played for the Cubs in the 60s.
Yep. But that was that was all the 7.2s I could find. That it was at the show. Like I said, the one guy I was looking for wasn't back, and I don't know because I know the last time that I was there and I got some from him, I know I left some behind that I needed because look, Rich wants on so we can talk to Ken. But yeah, the other thing I picked up was I picked up a stack of the high numbers for the Heritage.
Oh, nice.
I'm trying to finish. So I bought a bunch of high numbers and short prints. This one. And let's see, what else did I get? This was my dive into a quarter box. And I come out with 5 cards out of a quarter box out of all that. But I don't even know why I got this one, but I know that it was worth more than a quarter. The Stephon Curry, I'm sorry. Mosaic.
Nice.
Todd Gurley, which I got this one just because he's a Georgia player. Then a few Lamar Jacksons, one Mosaic, and one Panini Contenders. But my biggest takeaway outside the high numbers was right back here.
Oh, what's that?
All boxes and supplies.
Oh, nice.
Something I could buy boxes and not have to pay shipping on. I went ahead and got them while I was there.
Heck yeah.
I found some 330 count boxes. So I'm happy.
I actually I spent more on cards buying than I made selling cards, which was not the goal, but
it never is it?
I had fun and I picked up some cool cards. So what I don't like to do is I like to give everybody a chance since, I'm running the show. I don't like to shop early, so I like to give everybody an opportunity to buy. But Saturday there was a card, another slab. I've been buying a lot of slabs lately that I couldn't turn down the opportunity to buy. So I gave it like 45 minutes into the show. It was still there, and apparently Nick was the vendor. He said it was there'd been quite a few people had already asked about it, and were hemming and hawing. So it's a Ron Santo PSA 3, but it's actually in really good condition. It looks better than a 3, but I don't grade, so I don't know why it got the 3, but it's a really sharp card. So I have a Santo rookie. But I don't have the one I have is a raw copy, and it's pretty beat up. So this is a really nice, clean rookie in a slab. So
you got that on Twitter, right?
What's that?
Okay, you posted that on Twitter.
I did, yeah.
Okay.
And then I had somebody come up to my booth, and it's another Ron Santo. It's a Topps Chrome Auto. So he had a good price on that. So I picked that up. And then one of my vendors is, you may know him from Twitter, Offbeat All-Stars. He does some card art. So he was working on a Javier Baez 3D. So I don't know if you can see that it's three-dimensional, but
yeah, we'll blow that up.
So I asked him if that was for sale, and he said it sure is. So I said I'm a buyer. Added that MLB logo patch in the background, so then the back of it has his logo and the front of the Topps card. So
yeah, I noticed that you had him set up at your show, and I thought that was pretty cool because that's something that you never see. I mean, you see people selling cards, you see people trading cards, but you never see something like that at a show.
Yeah. So it was.
Did it go over well?
Yeah. He made his money back on the table. Plus, we actually. Myself and Ripping One-Handed on Twitter, his name's Ryan, and then Offbeat All-Stars, Brian, we all met up at a burger place afterwards and had a burger and a beer, and we interact on Twitter so much, and we all live here in Madison. It's the first time that Brian and I, Offbeat All-Stars, we actually meet up at our local card shop every 3 weeks or so, but I'd never met Ryan in person, so it was great to actually get to meet him in person and hang out.
First time y'all met, then. Okay, I didn't know that. I thought the way you hear you talk about it sometimes that y'all might have just kind of met up a time or two before or something. So
No, we actually met in person the first time at my April show. So we talked a little bit at the April show, and then he set up and had a table at Saturday show.
okay. Yeah, I didn't meet anybody from Twitter at Spartanburg. So
Damn it, Beau, you gave me your allergies. I'm
Yeah.
dying over here. I had to take the contacts out. I've got the glasses in. My eyes like swollen.
Yeah.
It looks like I got pink eye now. Thanks a lot.
That's what happens when you sit next to me at dinner.
Yeah.
Actually, I sat down first, so you sat next to me. So I'll blame.
True.
So
Well,
I can't blame it on you.
I like you, so I figured I'd sit next to somebody who I knew and liked in that room. You know, rather than somebody I didn't know.
And I tried to be on my best behavior.
You
I really
fine.
did.
Hey, he only had one even minor rant for Kin, which is really good in a 3-hour period.
I mean, he has 5 on here.
Minor. The only thing he did was Dr. Beckett asked everybody, said you can't be somebody in the room or a relative, but you have to say somebody who's a positive influence on you. Kin was the only one that broke that rule. I understand why. I mean, maybe you should have said one of those guys at the indie card shop, but
yeah, I mean, really, like, I didn't even have anybody else I could think of, and I mean, he really just was. I mean, I'm sure you noticed that. I mean, holy crap! I didn't even get to say everything I wanted to say because I was just like, I'm done.
No, you're fine.
Yeah, I may not get invited again, but it's okay.
No, but that was a cool dinner. I mean, I know that was like, but I was dragging all day today.
Oh, I'm still not recovered from.
I had 4 days of that joyful.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's what I'm saying.
Plus a dinner Friday night, a dinner Saturday night, and a dinner Sunday night. The dinner Friday night I stayed for to have an appetizer and left. It was basically my old baseball fantasy league reunited at the show, out of all things.
Yeah, I did one 14-hour day away from home, and I'm still recovering.
And you had a day off in between. Yesterday, one of the pretty people in our group left a couple things behind and promised me he'd be there at 8:00 to pick it up. So instead of sleeping till 7 and getting there at 9, which was my goal, no, I had to make sure I set the alarm for 6 and was there at 8. He never came to pick it up. I got to ship it back to him.
That's awesome. But I had a great time at the show. I mean, so for me, I haven't attended the show since, I guess, the November Dallas Card show. And everybody kind of knows how I am. I'm the grumpy old man. I'm the get off my lawn guy. I don't like slabs. I don't like the flip vesters. And this is a flip vester heavy show.
When Kid said he had got an invite to the dinner and he was going to the show, I was sitting there thinking in my head like, oh boy.
Well, did he tell you who made sure he got the invite?
Did what?
Did he tell you who made sure he got that invite?
He did, and he's mentioned it. I think you mentioned it on here a couple times too. So
yeah, thanks to Rich. So a big part of the reason, I went. So I was already kind of on the fence because Val, NASCAR Radio, was coming in. John, Sports Card
Nation.
Yeah, sorry, these allergies are messing with me. Damn you, Beau! It's all your fault. So they were coming in, so I was already kind of like, okay, maybe I'll do it. And then Rich got me invited to that dinner, and I was like, this is an opportunity. I mean, all of us are of that age that, except Rich because he worked with Dr. Beckett and they're friends, but the rest of us.
David Lee, who was there, also worked for Dr. Beckett.
Okay, but I'm just meaning of us four. You worked with him, but the other 3 of us grew up reading Beckett every month and potentially multiple sports every month. Mm-hmm. So you can't, and even though I've actually met him in passing, Rich has introduced me. I mean, would you guys have passed on that? Had you had the opportunity in your city to do it? I don't know anybody that would, especially of, kind of our generation. But then, just so many people came in. I was so excited. I had trouble falling asleep. Then I didn't sleep well, and then I woke up at 4:30 because I was so excited. So it was a long day, but just all the people I got to see, people, content creators, YouTube people, I've got like a freaking list I wrote down. Mike, baseball collector from YouTube. Andy, she blinded me with refractors. Dave, Blue Jacket 66. Bart, the PSA card guy. Val, Logan, Stacy from Twitter, John Newman. You got Rich. Obviously, I got to see him. Stefan and Angela again. I got to meet Brad, Texas Card Dude, for the first time, and I got to meet Ivan for the first time.
Well, I got to meet Ivan for the first time too. I'd never met him before, and he was coming in for. He came in for that, and he literally came in on a one-day trip. It's a good thing he's younger, and can do things like that.
But yeah, it was
and
so
Ivan is great. I never realized how cool he was until I sat, because he brought some eye candy for my showcase. And I'll tell you, I never realized how cool he was until we're sitting chatting the whole day. We sat and chatted for a couple hours. It was really cool.
And every one of these people that I met, I mean, they either were exactly what you thought, or they were even better than you thought they would be. I mean, there was no disappointment in any single person I met. But for me, I mean, that was it. It wasn't about buying stuff. I didn't really buy that much. I mean,
you bought some. Did you show and tell your nice T206s yet?
That's not. Yeah, if you guys want to see that, you can go check out the video on my channel. What I want to talk about real quick is my show.
I'll go ahead while you're mixing that. I'm gonna post. I'll post your video in the chat.
But yeah, what I wanted to talk about from my show and tell was, so I've been walking around the Hobby Hotline guys, and John Newman is part of that. They were doing their show, and I kind of went off and went around. And then I was coming out of one of the front rooms, and I saw John and started talking, and we started talking, and then he was like, "Yeah, I'm going to head up to JSA," and I'm like, "Oh, I forgot, I wanted to do that too," because I had 3 Dale Earnhardt cards that I wanted to submit, see if they would pass. So we walk up there, we get there, and he's like, "Well, you really should talk to Val and Logan and have them look at them, because they are the NASCAR guys. They've seen more autographs than I have. I mean, I've looked a lot on eBay in the last 15 months, but they've seen more than I have. They've forgotten more than I have ever known." And I was like, damn, I did mean to do that. So went back in, looked at them, and they both thought all 3 of them were authentic. Took them back, had a 4-hour wait, and all 3 of them came back authentic. So pretty excited. And that was, for me, the big thing. The show was already fantastic. If they had not passed, would it have put a little damper on the experience? Yeah, it would have. But I mean, it literally was so great that it was just the icing on the cake. But so all 3 of them looked different, and they were discussing with me. I talked with those guys for hours. I spent more time with Val, who is NASCAR Radio on Twitter, and Logan, who is King NASCAR. And both of them are big PSA registry guys, but they have forgotten more about NASCAR cards than I'll ever know. But they were explaining to me, yeah, this one from the earliest card is one of his earlier signatures. And then the card that was produced a couple years later, it had kind of evolved. And then one was like 4 years after that. And they're like, yeah, they all look legit. They look the time. And I'm like, they went above and beyond what I thought. I was just looking at different signatures. I wasn't putting all of that together because I'm not a signature guy. And I am going to stop the camera for just a second, but I'm going to continue talking. Oh, apparently I can't do that. Oh, I can. But anyway, so I had them look at them. I ran back up and sent it. And then, like I said, got them back, and they were all authentic. So I just wanted to show these bad boys off. This is a 1991 Max. It's not real pretty. It's a darker card, and he signed it in black. So it's not the most beautiful thing in the world. But, I mean, obviously I'm super, super thrilled to have that. And I was really shocked. The only other card I've ever had pass certification, I had it done in person, so I had no worries, but I did it at a card show years ago here in Dallas. It was an Andrew Shaw, and it cost me $50. These were $30 a piece, which I was fascinated by that. I was like, these are going to be $75 a piece. And looked shortly before the show, and they were $30 a piece. And then we got that bad boy right there. It's a little better looking. But I don't have a lot of good light, so this isn't going to do it any justice. But this is a 97 SPX. But pretty much everybody that collected during that time knows this is a hologram. These are really nice looking cards. And then it's got a lot of dark, and he signed it in blue. So it definitely pops off the card a little bit more. But that truly made the show for me. The combination of that, everybody I met, and then being able to be at the dinner that Rich got me invited to. And that was fantastic. And there are people in there that do things in the hobby differently than me, and that I am critical, not necessarily of them in particular, but the things they do. But it was a fascinating chat. It was great to be in there with every single one of them. I am not going to come out of that place going, oh, this guy was Everybody was fantastic. I thought it was great, and I couldn't have better things to say. Even if we don't hobby the same way, we are still all part of this. And, I just came away with a very positive experience, both from the show and all of the conversation at that dinner. I loved it. And like I said, I guess I only went on one minor rant, but I really did try to be on my best behavior because I also didn't want to. I also am not going to embarrass Rich. Rich
doesn't care. Jim's known me for 35, 40 years. He's used to me.
I know, but
some of my friends.
But at the same time, I respect you so much, and you have become such a good friend to me that I'm not going to embarrass you.
Well, let me put it this way. I didn't mean to step on that. A lot of my friends back in the day were the New York area car dealers. None of them were ever afraid to tell Jim what they thought. And we loved it because they were honest. They say, we like what you did here. We don't like what you did there. And frankly, he appreciated that more than somebody that would say, you guys suck, you guys are killing the hobby, or you guys are wonderful and you do everything right. He really appreciated people who would do both. Hey, you do this right, you did this one right, and you did this one wrong. And here's why. Well,
sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, but like he said, and I've heard it, I believe, in the podcast, there's a difference between saying you suck and this is what you do better. And let's be honest, you all three know I can be quite belligerent at times. I try not to be, get personal or anything like that, but, I can kind of say, I will say this, if this is garbage, this is garbage. But again, this is Dr. Beckett, and this is Rich, who got me in there, who I respect, and I'm not going to go in there and embarrass myself as much as I'm sure.
Well, I want to brag on at least one of the people that was in there that you don't know, this guy, Ryan Nolan, and I swear that's his name. His name is Ryan Nolan. Yes, Nolan Ryan backwards, and he's gotten kicked off Facebook groups because they think he's a troll. He will then, black out stuff and send them a driver's license, blacked out the personal information to say, no, that's really my name, so he can get back on. Ryan also has a buddy. These two guys, and they're young kids, young enough to be most of our sons. Yes, they play with the slabs, but like, for example, one of the kids bought a Pokemon card, sent it to PSA. He knew it was a good card. He thought it was going to get a 9. It got a 10. He was happy to send PSA another $200. He took that money he got from selling that card, and I don't remember all 5 cards, but 2 of the cards are a 49 Bowman. And by the way, none of these are like more than 4s. One is a 49 Bowman Jackie Robinson, and the other is a 52 Topps high number Jackie Robinson. Anytime you can trade Pokemon and really appreciate the vintage cards, I'm all in on that. Even, and I don't expect him to go chasing the commons. That's not his thing. But I am very impressed that he understood that long term, his better play is getting into those type of vintage cards rather than chasing Pokemon. And he appreciated them. And Ryan shows me what he had with him. And Ryan had a bunch of really cool mix of graded cards from, I think he may have had an old Judge. He definitely had 5 or 6 T206 Hall of Famers to cards 5 years ago. So I'm very impressed by both of them. And to me, if those are the type of people who are going to be content creators and play, I'm all in on that.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, it is what it is. And as I go through the videos from the Dallas Card Show, there's a lot of content that I'm not a fan of, but I've made a playlist that I've shared on Twitter, and it's got a lot of those people on it because they are the ones making content. One thing I did want to say real quick while I was thinking about it, and I have the floor, I want to apologize to everybody in the chat. One thing that Herman and I really try to do is interact with you guys, and I will admit that it's been tough for us tonight because the combination of having all of us on here and just the conversation. So I just want to apologize to everybody for that. I'm sure Herman would agree with what I'm saying. But we really do. We talk about trying to pride ourselves on interacting with everyone throughout the chat, and it's just been a little rough tonight on that. And of course, my allergies, and sorry about all that crap. But now I think Beau's better now.
Yeah, I've got a pile of Next.
I mean, he just passed it on all up to you. I mean, he's good now. We good to go.
So, but I love Beau's story. I mean, I will tell you when I promoted my shows, and I know Beau said he would try to hold on. I actually tried to buy before the show began as the promoter. I don't know. Are you a one or a two man shop when you do your show, Beau?
As far as
the general running of the store of the show.
Yeah, I have a co-promoter, Johnny.
Okay, I didn't have a co-promoter. Sometimes Raymond would help me. Sometimes somebody else would help me, but most of the time it was me, myself, and I. So for me to go shopping, it had to be before the doors open.
Oh, sure.
And so I understand why you're able to hold off a little. I had to do my shopping at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And then I might do a little shopping later in the day. Like we had some local dealers, they would make grab bag envelopes, and they were pretty good, and would let me get some new stuff in. So at the end of the day, sometimes I would let them trade their table fees for giving me the grab bags. Because they had like a graded card, an autographed card, a few other things, and it was like $15. And sometimes there were better stuff, and there was like $15, $20, $25 an envelope.
But let me say, as someone that knows Rich and knows what he buys and what he sells, he's not going through taking every great deal that he can turn around and flip. So it's one of those, and I get that's where you're talking about, Beau, a conflict of interest. But what Rich is buying is different type stuff. So
Sure.
Every situation is different.
Yeah, and I mean, I wasn't buying the best cards in the room. I go through dime boxes. I enjoyed that. We have a local dealer, a lovely man by the name of Duke. And I was happy he really likes his new location. And I'm going back to that room for the next show. It was a one-off. I was in the main room because we wanted to be there, and it looked much better for Hobby Hotline. And they were going to use, and actually it was the perfect location being way in the back of the room. I'm probably the only person that ever said I'm happy to be back in the back of the room.
I set up in the back of our room, and I'm with you on that. I like being in the far back.
Well, I was as a one-man shop. I was in the front because I was also collecting admission.
Sure. Okay. So I hired my mom.
Beau had a little help with that this time.
I had some help. I had my mom come up and take money.
Yeah, if I had help, I would put myself in the back of the room.
Yeah.
But since I was basically doing it as a one-man shop for the most part, I put myself in the front, and I was okay with, nobody ever really complained.
But both of you, though, kind of have similar setups. You both have boxes that folks are going to go sit through. So you're not trying to get the turnover. You don't need 700 out of 800 people to come by your table to have a good show. You guys need a couple of people to sit down, put together a nice big stack, and you're both pretty happy guys. So, there's something to be said for that as far as being, put in the back as well.
And believe it or not, that actually happened to me on Sunday. I had a couple people sit down, go through my stuff. I actually made on Sunday, give or take, what I made on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday combined.
Wow.
That rarely happens. But I spread out a little. I had shares. And as Ken said, I had some guy I'd never met before. He's a lovely, lovely man. He served in Vietnam. He then, went and worked, and he likes playing with cards. I give almost anybody, unless they really aggravate me, a good price. So I gave him a really good price. He's very happy. And there was another dealer who just sat down, went through one of my boxes, and he spent good money. And I'm thinking, that's what happens when you actually have room for people to look through your stuff. In that side room where I'm going to be back in, it's the same thing. They can actually sit and look in that room. As I said, this was a one-off for being back in that room. And, the funny thing is, I don't know how you are with making sure people come back. They know I'm coming back, Kyle and his team. So when they were handing out stuff for the next show, they said, we're not even giving Sergio. We know where you are for the next show, so we don't even have to give you the reminder about coming back. And I will tell you, we had two guests on Hobby Hotline. We had Kyle, and then we had David Buddy Lee, who you met at the dinner. And they were both really good. So the show went off other than some technical glitches.
But yeah, I will say from personal experience, this was the first time I went into the front rooms at the Dallas show. Man, it was a whole lot cooler in there. And like you said, you had room for people to sit down. But if they put you pretty much anywhere else in that main room, Rich, you're not going to do well at all because nobody's going to pull up a chair because they're going to get smacked in the head by backpacks at least 3 times a minute.
And because it was like a new group, Kyle put me in the back of the room. And as I said, I'm going to be the only person that ever thanks you for putting me in the back of the room. And when I looked at the show I watched the Hobby Hotline, or I listened, and every once in a while I looked at it. The show, it looked really good because we were in the back and the camera was panning to the rest of the floor.
Not only that, probably not a lot of feet or background, not as much background noise there as would have been basically anywhere else in that show. So when I went in, it was relatively busy. We were there as doors opened. I won't say that when the doors opened, they quite bum rushed like they did at Herman's show, but people got in quickly and it was busy and it got busier. It was not too bad early when I was doing kind of my initial go around the room, because typically I go around the room. I don't buy anything with the exception of buying from Roger, which is the gentleman I bought the T206 cards off of. But yeah, within an hour or two, as you started to get to around noon, I mean, it was unbearable to go through tables. So I just gave up. I sat and talked with Val and Logan for hours. And then there was a little bit of a break, it seemed like, in the late afternoon. So I was able to get out, get a few more things and get through. Still busy, still narrow aisles, but it wasn't too bad. And it didn't seem like, at least at that point, that all of the camera crews and posses were out there blocking all the aisles, which, I mean, yeah.
And I should mention, in the spirit of full disclosure, once Kim gets back whatever he needs, he'll be doing some Twitter for Dallas Card Show. And most of my emails go out, promote the Dallas Card Show nowadays. Mm-hmm. So both of us are tangentially involved. And I just want to say that for full disclosure too. I'm your name's slipping my mind. Royals 417. I think your name's Matt. I hope so. I hope I don't sound like a jackass. Yes, Roger is the gentleman from Norman. Yes.
But and back to Beau's show, the setup that you have, I love the setup because it is like, and I know that what you have 30 tables. Did you hit 30 this time?
Yeah, we got 30.
Yeah, but just this way it's spread out and just the way the whole thing is set up, it's like each table has its own little area where it's not like blending into everything. Because, when you get into even like the one I went to, tables are end to end all the way down through it, and everything just kind of starts blending together. You don't know whose is whose and what. But and I'm sure the Dallas was the same way, or were they spaced out or?
Ken, you're on mute.
You're muted, Ken.
Sorry, guys. I'm trying to not let you hear me sniffle. Yeah, it is. It's bad, especially when you consider, again, that 80% of those tables look the same. They literally run together. I mean, it's probably, again, I've only been in I was the National 15 years ago, so I don't really remember that much. But it almost kind of looks like I would assume, a booth at the National where there's, 5, 6, 7, 8 tables. They all look the same, but there are different people behind everyone, but yeah, it just they all run together. And I just want to agree with what Herman said. Yeah, the pictures from your first show. I mean, I love that setup. And again, that may change as you get more sellers, because you got the room's going to stay the same size, and as you get growth, it may turn out to be that way. But it sounds like you guys have some good options, and so far you really have a good relationship with your facility, and that's just awesome.
And it sounds like the venue. I mean, it's got to be an awesome venue to have a venue that you just walk in on Saturday morning, it's set up.
Yeah,
I mean,
I walk in and
you got the tables with the big fancy full cover black tablecloths or the stretch over things. I mean, I
will say as a promoter, every show I ever did, the tables were set up for the most part. There was. The last one I ended up doing at the hotel due to a bizarre set of circumstances. The guy who was setting up the shows did a no-call, no-show that week. I get to the hotel at 6:30. Oh, by the way, we have to set up your room for you right now. Okay. And I mean, I gave everybody. It was before Christmas in 2019, and I gave everybody a tip. I mean, I had the nice young ladies from who served the breakfast buffet. They were setting up tables in between keeping the breakfast buffet going. The two maintenance guys were setting up tables. I and the assistant general manager would move some tables. I mean, that it never else happened before, and it didn't upset me because my wife was going to be out of town for her kidney transplant. She had gotten it, but I didn't know when she'd come back, so I didn't want to schedule anything. And then COVID hit, so I just have never scheduled anything since then, but it has nothing to do with that experience. It just was more of a fluke of timing.
Yeah. And dang it, I thought I found something for Beau at the show I was at, and come to find out he had just got one in a trade. I had never saw those before.
Yeah, the old Surf book. I think Surf Detergent made that for every team.
For 2 years.
For 2 years, okay.
They're 88 and 89, I believe.
Okay, yep.
Or 87 and 88. I know 88's one of them. I think it may be 87, 88 or 88, 89.
Yeah, I didn't. He had the one Cubs. I think he had a couple of Yankees and Reds. No, it wasn't Red Sox. Because if it had been a Red Sox, I would have messaged Mark, which I'm sure he had one. But I can't remember who it was. But I know he had 3 different teams, but he only had the one Cub. But I'm like, yeah, I wonder if Beau's got this. Let me see. And I knew you were at the show. And I'm like, well, I'm going to see anyway because, it was a couple of bucks. If he ain't got it, I'll pick it up. But
okay, so it's 88, 89. And to answer the question from Morel's 417, some of them were given away at ballparks, but you could also buy your local teams usually at like the Barnes and Nobles of the world.
Huh.
So they were actually available.
These were actually sold individual. I figured it would have came like in a box of detergent or something. Like, I didn't know how they were distributed. I mean, not necessarily in the box, but attached to it. Because you've seen that before where stuff is maybe, I don't know, shrink wrapped or whatever in with the product. But
yeah, well, and those books came out because Maxine Berger, Cy's daughter, in 86 did that 35th anniversary Topps book, which was a huge hobby hit. It was that big coffee table size book that showed at the front of every Topps card.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And she had to go she bought like most of the 52 high numbers. Thankfully, it was before the prices exploded.
Yep. Well, guys, I know we kind of went sideways here for a minute, but Ken, you showed everything you wanted to show as far as your pickups, and Beau showed his. Since Rich joined us, you want to show anything that
I would show, but the funniest thing, and it's just going to be, if I knew, I know where they are. I'm just going to show, and it's not something I picked up for me, so I want you to understand that.
So the only other thing I wanted to say is I bet you there was a higher percentage at my show of people walking around with their black graded card or gun cases and pulling around wheeled luggage than there was at yours. Oh my gosh, every one of those people, I just kind of wanted to kick their wheeled luggage because they're making it even worse in already narrow aisles.
So if you like base cards, the people next to me left these in a little container on the floor by me. So I'm actually going to consider those donations. But there's a Joe Montana Prism card. There's Drew Brees Chronicles, I believe. I mean, not that I'm keeping them, but it's more of that's like, just goes to show that they're not even respectful. And that happens with a lot of the people of the common cards. People get their one hit, and then they don't know what to do with it. This is why some people think these modern cards are the next overproduced era. Because what do you do with the cards when everybody's just trading the Lucas and the hits along?
Yeah, mate. So they just left them there for you.
So they left them there for me. And why not take them? And as I said, 98% of these cards are going to end up in the donation bins. But if and when we do our next show.
Maybe they knew that, and that's why they left them for you.
I pulled out a lot of fun stuff out of those bags. There's no doubt. And I want to say to Matt and Beau, maybe we need to make hashtag Team Backpack like our own little code hashtag for if someone Team Backpack or no. That's pretty awesome.
That was.
Because if for those that don't know, we were saying that, it seems like, again, I'm stereotyping, but if there wasn't some truth to it, it wouldn't be a stereotype. You have a lot of the flip vesters and the people that have been in the hobby like 18 months, and they're carrying those things around at card shows. And then you got guys like Beau and myself. We're carrying around backpacks. Like I said, it's a stereotype, but there's going to be some truth to it. Sorry, not sorry about that.
Did you see who else was carrying?
This is all I carried around.
Did you see who else was carrying a backpack with him?
Dr. Beckett.
Yes.
I wondered. I figured that's where you were going. Yeah, because remember, I was like, Dr. Beckett, your backpack is wide open.
Yes.
Yes, no dollar store toolboxes. I mean, if these people got $2,000 slabs in there, they ain't shopping at the dollar store. Now, my backpack could be from the dollar store. Who knows?
Now there was,
and the problem I have with the dollar boxes, they may or may not be good. But the problem I have with the dollar boxes, there's only a couple people that ever put old cards in their dollar boxes. So I wouldn't have any idea on the value of a 2020 Prism Patrick Mahomes, whether that's even good to pull for $1 or not. It's like, well, I would know I could pull that at a dime. At $1, not so much.
Now there was a kid at the show I went to walking around with a suitcase like George has, full of slabs, walking around trying to make sales at each table. He sold a few.
I think we need to peer pressure George into just coming over for a card show, selling off some of his slabs. He'll pay for that flight very easily. But yeah, that's one, that is one thing that I definitely want to, you definitely see more, and I think that's part of this is something I noticed and I just thought about. The people that are coming in, especially, say, for example, coming into the Dallas card show because it is so big, people coming in to sell that are not purchasing tables, but they're coming in to sell tens of thousands of dollars of cards and not paying table. It's just, I'm not saying right or wrong, but it is a fascinating thing. I mean, you can't just walk into your local card shop and start trying to sell cards to every Yahoo that I don't want to call him Yahoo because that's probably me. To try to sell cards to every guy that walks in. But yeah, at this card show, that's what they're doing. Again, I'm not judging right, wrong, indifferent. What are you going to do? Tell them they can't do it? Well, then they're not going to come and your show's not going to be a success. So,
someone tried that in the that was tried in the 80s to prevent that very thing from happening. There'd be some dealers in the 80s who would walk around with rolling suitcases like that, doing that at some of the shows, and the promoters ended up saying you must leave all backpacks or all rolling cases or whatever with them at the door. That didn't last very long.
Yeah, I mean that would be your option, but then if Dallas Card Show does that, how much do you think the traffic drops off? We won't have any trouble. We won't have trouble getting through the aisles anymore.
No, I will tell you though. The other thing was, I don't know if you noticed, but when we left dinner, did you see how busy the lobby was?
That's a good point, and I'm assuming that's very national-ish. I think it.
Well, actually, it's actually not very nationalist, and the reason it's not nationalist is the national. You're in so many different places. It's not really like that.
Well, and I know too, and I kind of had said that to Angela and Steph because they gave me a ride up, and we kind of discussed that. The difference from what I understand at the national. Well, I guess there is, that after show trading, and I mean it was hot. It was seriously hopping outside, or not outside, but in the hallways area, pretty much like the show was. But the difference is, I think at the national, a lot of people they meet up in room, they meet up in the hotel rooms and things like that. So a little bit difference, but yes, that's a great point, Rich, and something that I definitely noticed. And like I said, mentioned to them. I mean, there was some huge table, and it literally had 20 guys around it with their black graded card cases, literally all sitting open. Oh, going back to the selling, I thought one of the things that was fascinating was there was some younger gentleman, and he had a smaller one. It probably had like 10 cards in it. He's literally walking around the show with the box open, slabs in it with prices on it, just like this.
And it was a Trout $1,700 card, if I remember correctly.
I didn't pay any attention to what it was. It was just,
I did.
Like I said, it's interesting, just a lot of the little things you see. And, I guess you probably don't see those at Beau's show too often.
No, and Raymond told me that it was going strong until about 2:30, and it finally broke about 3:30 on Saturday night.
I'm going to start a website, the people of
George,
Dallas.
I want to answer George real quick. I think the case on the floor was the case he carried his money around in, because the case he had his slabs in was sitting on the table beside it. So that was the dude I was talking about. Couldn't have been but 18, 19 years old. And he's, I ain't hating on him. He do what he does, but gee, to walk around with that much money.
The good thing for Beau is I'm pretty sure with what he has, when the show ends, people go home.
Yeah.
Well, and when I said you don't see that at Beau's show, that was a compliment.
Yes, that's very much a compliment.
So that website, thepeopleofwalmart.com. Maybe I should start up the peopleofDallasCardShow.com, because it is some interesting. Again, it's different because most of us all of us on the four of us and most everybody in the chat, we started at a different time. We started an earlier generation, so to us these things are amusing. In my case, sometimes irritating. But, it is what it is. It is a hobby evolution, so to speak. But
Yes.
All right, guys. We done went over an hour by a little bit, but that's fine. But we'll have to hop off. Ken, I appreciate you joining me again. Beau,
Thanks for having me.
Have you. Glad you could join us. Rich, thank you for jumping in.
Oh, I wanted to talk to Ken because I'd seen his posts all day. I hadn't yet looked at his videos, but I wanted to talk to Ken, and we were going to banter that about. So I'm glad to hear Beau's show too. Well, I love the sample card you picked up.
Also, I'll put in the description. I put a link to Beau's review on his show from Sunday, and a link to Ken's video he did for his pickups from the Dallas show. So y'all check that out if you hadn't already, and see y'all next week. Thanks, guys.